there's a ton of people who like are super into roasting in their friend groups, and that's hilarious. That's honestly how a lot of comics do start, particularly in the Atlanta area. But it's different when you're handed a mic and you're put up in front of people. Because when I was first starting out to pursue this as a hobby, I would try to start my sets by roasting. And the thing about roasting is...
It doesn't work here.
It doesn't really work, and it has to be fucking hilarious. Like, it's got to be so funny because you're essentially attacking somebody, usually for their physical appearance, which is very lowbrow, and I don't do that anymore. But it's a very cheap way to get a couple laughs, and the only person not laughing is usually the person you're making a joke about. Like, roasting takes a very...
Depends how good it is.
Sure.
You hit it on the nose,
sure.
You got everybody.
If you're masterful and you can make that person laugh about it and laugh at themselves, that's great. But, like, that's the reason that roasts are my favorite shows to do, is because you have to know the people on the show.
And you have to frame it to where they know it's a roast. You can't just go in and start making fun of people.
Right.
Especially here in the South, we carry.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's why, like, Tucker's roast was so fun, is because every single one of us that was up there absolutely loves one another. We all think each other are hilarious. We get along off of stage, which is honestly kind of rare for me because I'm a bit of an asshole. And I don't say that as like a proud, like, I just tell the truth. No, those people who do that are also dickheads. I just am an abrasive person. But I was on stage with, 6-7 other people who are fucking hilarious. Like, we all love each other. We all want each other to do well. So we can say the most heinous shit to each other. And
well, it's because we don't mean it. We've done comedy roasts to where I've had people I know don't like me on there, and they try and make fun of me, and I'm just like, that's not a joke, and nobody's laughing.
Right. Which is also very awkward. Like, I don't know, jokes gotta be funny, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the whole thing. I feel like...
Rule 1, be funny. Everything else, guidelines.
I feel like it shouldn't be a rule. You just... That's the whole thing. It's like having a doctor who's like, yeah, I don't really know medicine. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, yeah, I didn't go to medical school. Like... If I go to the dentist, I'm pretty sure that guy has a better understanding of the inside of my mouth than I do. So if I go to a comedy show, I hope that person understands the material that they are joking about in a way that I don't.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because a lot of people will poke fun at things they don't understand in order to get reactions to learn about it. But to truly make a good joke about something, you have to overly understand it.
There's some Cat Williams interview before he fell from grace, because his last special was dog shit, and he fought Shane Dawson in a bowling alley a few years before that. It's a weird internet story that I know about.
Cat Williams is 4'11". He doesn't need to fight nobody.
But somebody was asking him, like, you have a lot of material where you make fun of yourself. Is that intentional? He's like, oh yeah, that's the craft. You have to, with comedy, you have to make fun of everything. You can't pick and choose your targets, otherwise that's discriminatory, which that means you have to come for yourself. So you have to have a level of understanding and love for anything you talk about. And a lot of people do get on stage and just deprecate themselves, and it's not coming from love, and they just are unhappy, and that's just sad.
Well, one of the first times I met you was at that Christian cafe, starts with a W?
Oh, Wellston Station. It wasn't intentionally Christian. There just were a bunch of us who also worked at a church that worked there.
Okay, well,
and here's the thing: Christians are really loud about their beliefs. They obnoxiously loud, so loud.
Well, I went up there because they're like, "Oh yeah, we do an open mic. You can do whatever you want there."
Yeah,
and
I planned
on doing my Claremont Lounge bit there, and saw children and was like, "Uh-oh, I gotta write something now."
So that was one of the first shows that I ever organized, was that open mic, and fuck, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago, at least 9.
That was where the tall bit came from, to where I'm just complaining about being tall.
Yeah,
and still holds up.
And I will never forget being in the booth and watching you like do some stand up and be like, man, that's great, because it was an open mic just generally, and there were people who would like do poetry. It was mainly music, and you got up and did comedy. I was like, fuck yeah, go up and do some comedy. And you told a couple jokes and that was funny, and then you just played guitar for the rest of your time. Which, granted, we gave people 15 minutes, which is a long fucking time, especially if you
so much time,
so long. But it was a little podunk. The venue was actually bitching, but it was in a terrible area. Like the venue should have done well. There's a whole conspiracy about it maybe being a money laundering scheme. Like it's very unclear why it failed. I will say the couch in the break room, that fucking massive purple, I think it was either purple or green, just most uncomfortable couch on the planet, cost $60,000. It's a $60,000 L-shaped couch.
Yeah, that's money laundering.
So allegedly, but yeah, that was in hindsight, 15 minutes at an open mic. Because the idea was like we were doing it primarily for music. 15 minutes is enough time for you to get 3 songs out. You know, that's the whole goal. But to go up to a 15-minute open mic and have a few jokes in your pocket was bold, my friend. That was a bold move.
I was way braver back in the day.
We want to talk about some etiquette, man. I should start going to some music open mics and do comedy.
If they're not there for comedy, don't.
Now, okay, I will say I have been in a couple open mics where they are very clearly advertised as comedy open mics, and somebody gets up there with a guitar, and that person either crushes and is hilarious, or they're at the wrong open mic. Like everybody gets up and leaves.
Yeah, if we are talking about our dicks, we don't want to hear wagon wheel.
Yeah.
Unless it's whack and wheel and you change the lyric.
Right. Well, I did Sugar Virus's 30th anniversary, right? And there's me doing comedy in between the bands. I'm like, I need to know how much time so I can get to the punchline. It's like, yeah, man, you got 5 minutes in between each one. I'm like, how much time am I doing? An hour, because there's X amount of bands. And I'm just like, I was told to bring 10 minutes. Like, what? And we're recording this? So I tried. But every time a band we get done early, I get kicked off stage. And in retrospect, it's hilarious because it's build, never get to the punchline the entire show.
Right.
But during it, I'm just like, I look terrible.
Right.
This is the worst. Because they're not there for it. And like, I was bringing them in like it's a metal show. I talked about Mayhem, which there's a YouTube watch for you.
That's pretty dark history behind that, man. That's a weird structure for a show, though. And I don't know that I would. I have some friends who've done comedy in the weirdest scenarios, like people at an Applebee's and be like, "Why am I doing comedy right now? Like, I'm the only person here."
Did anybody here know comedy was happening? No, you're about to have the worst meal ever.
Like, or like, why am I at this car dealership opening right now? Like, what, you know? So like people, like I feel like business owners are very.
Well, they expect a certain kind of comedy. It's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, or this or that, and it's like it's not clean. And if they want clean and you're not, just don't, because clean costs extra.
We open, I know that I can't. I'm not good enough to do clean. I can't. It's that people who are clean and hilarious, those are geniuses at the craft. That's not me. But we opened up talking about our personal Rushmores of comedy. Talk about the shit Rushmore of comedy. That Blue Collar Tour shit, bro. I feel like that really shook up the industry for a few years after that. Because it was the first time 4 dudes went on tour together and all headlined, right? Like that's
called
ever
a showcase as opposed to a headline, because you have different show formats.
But they toured like that.
Yeah, and like sometimes you'd do that. You'd get like 3 or 4 comics, and you'd have somebody host, you'd have somebody open, somebody feature, somebody headline, and you just change it up every night.
Yeah, obviously I wasn't present at the tour. I've just seen footage of it, but it felt like they didn't really do that. They tried to just all have equal everything.
Yeah, well, that's how I...
And we're talking about Bill Engvall, Jeff Foxworthy, Larry the Cable Guy, and the other
Ron
White.
Yeah.
And the other one.
Yeah, the old guy.
Well, you can do that. I've done shows like that. And those, I think everybody did 20 minutes, which is 80 minutes, and they do 10 minutes sitting around shooting the shit after the show, which hits your 90-minute mark.
And the funniest bits always came from that 10 minutes where they're just all up there together. And I think they used to go by the Tenderloins, but it's the Impractical Jokers guys. They toured together similar to that. And they all did, essentially they did like 20 and then 10 together. Also fucking hilarious when they were on stage doing their 10 together. Better than the rest of the show.
Yeah, well, bumping mics with Dave Attell and Jeff Ross.
Yep.
It can be done. I used to book the Friends on the Hill shows like that because it's easier. Hey, you 3 got 30 minutes? Cool, there's my show. You're each getting paid the same. Rock and roll. But, I'm trying some different stuff. January, we start the Macon Arts Center, Laughs the Mac. It's going comedy club style.
Yep, I'm very excited for that. I don't know if you are going to entertain the idea of inviting me on, but now that it's no longer clean, I would love to do that show. Just as I'm not funny clean. I'm just not.
All right, cool.
I'm a bartender. Like I chose my profession.
Talk after the recording.
I chose my profession. I literally left a corporate job. I worked at a bank for a year, and I couldn't speak my mind. Like, it was a bank is just a retail establishment. That's all it is. We're trying to sell you shit.
Credit cards.
Yeah, I mean, also, if you ever want to rob a bank, work at one, allegedly. But I literally hated the fact that I had to censor myself so bad. And I'm not the kind of guy that believes that free speech is the most important right and we should never be told we can't say something. No, there's shitty things to say and you shouldn't say them.
No, there are shitty things and you can say them, but somebody can also punch you square in the mouth for it.
Yeah, like there are repercussions for your actions, and speaking is an action. Mm-hmm. There's a reason fighting words is baked into the law in this country, But I hated not being able to tell somebody that they were being a dickhead, not like, because I would have immediately gotten fired. If I'm at the bar, if somebody's being an asshole, I'll tell them to go fuck themselves, man. I don't care. You have to earn that. Like, I'm not just going to be a dick to everybody, but I can address things and be genuine in a way that you can't do in a corporate environment. You can't really do in a retail environment.
I'm sure Azalea is the same way, like going from being in the military where you can just be like, all right, we're going to go over here and we're going to settle this, to being in an environment to where, oh, your language is too strong. I'm going to go tell on you. And it's just like, the fuck is this?
What is your perspective on that? Like, on language specifically? Because you do have a vet background, and like Trey said, like, I've heard a million stories from my service friends who, like, yeah, we just went outside, knuckled up, it was fine, You can't do that in the rest of the world.
So my thing is with the military, this is like one of the things I miss the most. There's a whole book, the military is for autistic people. It really is. It's the most fucking structured thing. There's a book that tells you
the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Yeah. And it tells you, here's the ranks. Mm-hmm. Here's how you address everybody.
Right.
So
here's how you tie your shoe left over right.
Yeah. It literally tells you what to do. Now, everybody's rank is displayed on their chest. Mm-hmm. Their schools and their medals are all on their shirts. You can just walk up to somebody, know their career and like their actual like validations as a soldier just by looking at their uniform, and you can address them as such. And it's so easy to talk to people.
Right.
Because as long as you just do the baseline military customs and courtesies, you can tell them to fuck off.
Right.
And it goes with like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Mm-hmm. And like, they know what they're qualified for. They can see my rank and what I'm qualified for. And there's this somewhat smooth transaction of stuff. Out in the civilian world, you all fucking think you are the fucking subject matter expert. Fuck you. Nobody knows shit. I don't know shit.
Everything I thought I knew, TikTok has shown me I fucking don't. Like,
yeah.
I have been using everything wrong.
Yeah, the guy that's like, here's stuff I wish I knew in my 30s or before my 30s. Like, I'm like,
for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that guy.
Like, there's an older dude who has a YouTube channel, and it's literally just content for people who didn't grow up with a dad.
Oh yeah, Dad, how do I or whatever.
Yeah, it's like shit. Like, here's how you tie a tie. Like, here's how you do your taxes. And it's the fucking best content. It's like the reason the internet should have been invented. Instead, we all just call each other assholes over Xbox Live and say slurs.
Yeah.
So like if everybody did wear, like, because you were talking about how you have your rank clearly displayed, if everybody in the world wore essentially a name tag, like, what information would be the most useful to be on there? Because I would for sure, if everybody had a tag that had their pronouns on them, even though it is not my business to ask.
Yeah.
But if I knew, I would love to be able to pay somebody the proper respect that they identify with,
Like, I actually have a button on one of my jackets that just says she/her.
Okay, sick.
Like, I don't think it's, like, I know how my voice comes across in this podcast is very masculine. I fully understand it.